A new exclusive 11Alive Survey USA poll is focusing on you and your family's safety. We're talking about crime in Atlanta with an emphasis on solutions. 11Alive's Hope Ford has the main highlights from our poll and perspective from a former sheriff's deputy.
You may have seen it on our station, read about it online, or seen viral videos on social media. Shootings and other violent crimes in the city of Atlanta. So what do you think can be done about it? Our exclusive 11Alive Survey USA poll shows 28% of Atlanta residents think more police and high pay is the way to decrease violent crime. But the same number of respondents think community centers and mentorship programs is the answer. Former Fulton County deputy of 27 years, Charles Rambo, thinks it's both.
A lot of things come in terms of economic development, job opportunities and what have you, but a higher paid police officer shows value to the community. And we're not just talking about just dollars, we're talking about equipment, we're talking about training.
Training. That's another question we asked. And survey says 50% strongly support moving some money from current police budgets to not only offer better training, but programs for homelessness, mental health assistance, and domestic violence. Rambo thinks those should all be funded equally.
We need for monies that have been declared for public use to be dedicated towards those type of programs.
And what about staff? At the end of 2020, the Atlanta Police Department was 400 officers short of their target goal for operating. And 47% of Atlanta residents think understaffing is a reason for crime in Atlanta. Rambo thinks it's only part of the problem.
What's going to drive crime down is when district attorneys and solicitors can get to the bottom of issues and get solid conviction.
Our poll results also show more of you are worried about crimes in your neighborhoods or gas stations and at shopping malls, and the crime isn't keeping people away. More than half of our respondents said they would still move to Atlanta.